Alrighty, well, it's a little later than what I normally wanted to be posting at or doing a video at, but wrestling is wrestling, and when you have kids in high school who wrestle, those things can go on for a long time. So, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to get right into it. Last week I had told you guys I was going to start this week's episode of Stove Talks with the Bushbox XL. This is a really straightforward stove, and I'll give you guys a little story about this stove first of all, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to open up with this stove for the larger stove varieties. First, this is my very first wood stove that I ever got. My wife bought it for me, and I hadn't got to use it, and we had a family emergency, and we ended up driving down to Florida, and it's a 32-hour drive for me to go to Florida, and we had stopped by the side of the road, or at a rest area, not by the side of the road. We stopped at a rest area, and it was a park type deal where they had grills and stuff. Well, I had this, and I didn't have any charcoal or anything like that, so we went and gathered a bunch of sticks, like we normally do for these wood stoves, and we actually started to cook dinner with this stove. And a police officer stopped and came into the park and was like, asked me what my stove was, and at first I thought I was going to be in trouble. And he's like, no, I'm just really interested, I think it's really cool. And I was kind of like, alright, sweet. So anyway, here is the Bushbox XL, and let's get into it. I'll give you guys kind of when you get the full kit, what comes in this. You've got your grill plate, or the standard small grill plate, the extra large grill plate, some trivets. These are extra trivets. I actually contacted Detlef over at Bushcraft Essentials because I had lost one of my trivets, and when I had lost it, me being me, I make a lot of stuff, so I made my own, and I made it identical in every aspect except I made mine wider. The wider trivet, if you make it, it will not work in the Bushbox. So anyway, I did get a hold of Detlef, and he sent me over another pair, if you can see them on the back of my stove here, of trivets. So I'll give you guys kind of an overview of this stove. Some people have this stove, some people don't, some people have looked at them, some people are interested. Well, I'm going to show you anyway. So I removed the trivets before I start fooling with the stove because these things can fall off. And they're just kind of attached in here like that. Just remove them like this. Yeah, Jason, it's pretty late tonight wrestling, so I said I was still gonna do it. So anyway, I'm showing off the Bushbox XL. And for those of you who have not joined me on a Stove Talk, I am doing a live feed on the Facebook group Stoveaholics over here. And for those of you guys who haven't done this with me before for the Stove Talks, I'm doing it for YouTube up here on the other camera. So it's pretty simple. You just literally I grab right here, and I always just give it a shake, and the stove pops right up like that. You have a nice catch plate underneath here. It's a solid plate, and then you have, if you can see that there, that nice plate down the bottom. This stove really pulls in the oxygen. When you're burning a nice fire in here, you can actually hear the air being sucked into all these different ports. I kind of like these little square ports too. They're pretty sweet looking. Well, thanks, Mike. I'm glad I made it too, and I'm glad you made it. So here's the stove. It's 800 grams. This is the stainless steel version stove, and I'm going to go back to these trivets here because they're pretty cool. And then I'm going to show you guys just a couple things to that this stove will do. So before I go to the trivets, let me show you something here. If you want to use charcoal in this thing, or I've even used Trangia in this option. See these little square holes right here? Alright, you see on the end of this plate, just like that? It's pretty simple. I'm going to try to do this backwards, so bear with me. Alright, this plate, it just literally sinks into those holes like that. And the back side, you see those elongated holes? It drops in there like that. So when you get your stove, when you look on the top, you have another platform in there. Now you see how I've got a nice little circle burned in mine? I actually put a cup down in there, and actually it wasn't a cup, it was this guy right here. What I did was I got a really good fire going underneath, and it was super windy out, and I did it like this. What that allowed me to do, this option right here, was I had a lot of focus on the base of my pot, and I still had a lot of heat around. Now here was the only problem with doing it like this. I could not feed my stove, but I was able to use what I had in here, and I fought against the wind, and it did work. That's an option, you know. It's not something that you have to do. Now you can use, I swore I put it in here someplace, but maybe I didn't. You can use a Trangia burner in this. All you have to do, what did I do with my Trangia burner? Huh. I'm gonna look someplace else in it, and it'll be like staring back at me laughing. Okay. Anyway, you can put a Trangia burner right on here. But so you hit that sweet spot with the Trangia burner. If you put the lid on the bottom and put the Trangia burner on top of that, it'll work. And let me put this back on this shelf before I forget, and I'll be looking for it later. So you guys, what you might not know is in front of me I have shelves, and that's where my stoves all hang. Or my stoves hang actually underneath where I have the camera, and then I have all my pots that sit on shelves in front of me. So that's why if you see me reaching down, I have shelves here. Anyway, back to this. These little guys right here are great tools, okay? See the little finger swells inside of there? You can actually take this, if it's hot, reach down inside of there, and just grab a hold of it. So that works out really well. Pulls it out and you don't even have to touch it. Now you can also take, because it has these nice little, if I can show you there, has those nice little tits on the end there. You can take it and also put it into the top up here, and you can use it as a short grill plate or a small grill plate, and it drops in and like that. If I can put it back in there. My camera light's blinded me a little bit. It just sits up on top. Same method. If it's hot or cold, I mean, you could reach in there and grab it, or you could use your trivets. And now this is something that I've just had problems with it, and I don't know if it's me or what. It's like, let me ask you this: do you warp from the heat at all? After 6 burns, mine warps where it doesn't close flat anymore. No, I mean, all metal's gonna warp a little bit. Well, I shouldn't say all metal's gonna warp a little bit, because that's totally different stove talk there. But we will cover that base, Mike. But metal's gonna give and take a little bit. I don't really have any warpage really on the stove. Let me show you. Now this is one of my oldest stoves, okay? And I don't know what kind of warpage you have on yours, but the only thing that mine teeters on, for you guys, somebody asked about stove warpage, Mike Vigil did. That teeters on the hinges. That's not any warpage. But on that warping topic, my stove warping, no, it's, look at it, it's still square. And you're going to be hard pressed, and I mean this sincerely, you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody who uses stoves as much as I do. So I think that I can honestly say this. I have no warpage, and I use the stove a lot. So I take that as you will. But now it's the stove. The extended grill plate, I've had warpage. You can probably see that my plate is not perfect. Okay, now here's the thing. This stove burns hot. Okay, guys, you know it burns hot. If you've used a stove or not, it burns hot. Okay, with this plate on the top here, like that, you can see that it doesn't sit just flat anymore because there is some warpage. That's my part because I'm using the stove on my knee, not on a flat surface. But there. See, it does not, it's not a straight deal. But here's the deal. Alright guys, it's not perfectly straight. Working with metals all the time, you're going to be hard pressed to find something like this, and you're going to put heat underneath it that's not going to warp. Okay? I work with metal a lot in my career. I love to fabricate things, and I don't know how you're going to find something like this to put underneath a bush box and not have it. Yeah, okay, so Chris Bernard says that he has warpage on his extended grill plate as well, and not have warpage. Now, I did see a long time ago, and you guys, forgive me if it's not offered anymore. Maybe Detlef from Bushcraft Essentials can let us know this. I did see that when he very first showed this stove off, he had a different grill plate, and I think it's just called the grill plate. If that's available, there's less steel on there, so it might not warp as much. I don't know, and if it does, it's easier to go back. Now this does go back actually pretty decent. Would you see the same type of warpage on stainless steel that you would on titanium? My experience in titanium so far has always been titanium does get glowing hot. That's also on another stove, which I'll talk about, Mike. That's on another titanium stove that I had accidentally put a bend on this stove when I was trying to figure out how to take the dang thing apart, and I was able to bend it back. You know, it was cold, but every time I got that stove hot, the bend came back. Every time. And it would cool down and it would go away again. It was the strangest thing. It was, you know, almost like it was a spring steel, but it was titanium. And when I come to that stove, I'll explain. You guys will catch on with exactly what I'm talking about. So, before I get sidetracked any farther, because that's what I do when it comes to stoves, let me talk to you a little bit more about these trivets. Now, bear with me because I don't know if I walked out of my shop with my Trangia burner in my hand or what, but I'm not leaving now, so yep, I'm not leaving. Oh, also, you can use other stoves like the cat stove, the super cat stove. You can use any type of stove. When you put that bottom plate in there, you've got a really nice platform, and then you have a cooking surface. So these trivets also work really good. You can grab it right here in the front like I've done before and pick up your stove and move it around. Okay, because it's not a lot of weight there. You're not going to worry about bending this thing. I mean, I think that the stability of this lip right here versus the weight of the stove, even full of wood or ashes, you're not going to bend this. You're not going to warp it. But if you didn't want to do that, you could stick it into the side here, and you could put both of them into the side and move it. Now these options right here on the sides, you can actually put a Trangia burner, or a Trangia burner, as I've heard said many times, but the way I pronounce it is Trangia, so if you guys don't like that, sorry for you. And a Trangia burner will fit perfect right in there. Cool thing is you have your sweet spot, and then you also have other options to where you can make it lower, make it higher. I've used different burners in here. Heck, I've even gone as far as using here, one of these, which is a wax and cardboard emergency burner, you know. So yeah, options when it comes to something like this are endless. Now, one thing I did see that I thought was really cool was somebody had posted, and I cannot remember who it was. It was I think it might be on the Bushcraft Essentials Instagram site. Somebody had posted this, and they had their toast up against the side of the stove. It was so awesome. They were toasting it. So I believe that's how they had it. I'll have to look to see, to double check it. But I'd always been really happy with this stove. So let me tell you guys a couple things I did notice right off the bat about this stove. This stove is, one, perfectly square. Okay. One thing I did notice is that if you do not have your trivets in there, my opinion, I think that the stove itself doesn't have the same stability because the hinges are on the side here. Okay. But as soon as you were to put the trivets in here, I'm blinding myself with my camera over here. The stove becomes I'm squeezing it right now and you can't even really tell. It becomes pretty solid, obviously, because I'm supporting it, you know, in the same direction. Another option, you see the rounded holes in the top there? That's right, you can use tent stakes if you like. I've used tent stakes. Actually, I don't have a tent stake on me right now, but I do have this. And how they go through, hopefully they're about, okay, yeah, they're about the same size. So you've got 2 holes this direction here, okay? And you've got 4 holes in this direction. And I have used tent stakes and over charcoal with the small plate down inside. It worked just fine. There were no worries with it whatsoever. So I was a little reminiscent this year when it comes to stoves, just because I do more than just use stoves. Obviously, you know, I collect the stoves. So you know, I've started to really kind of expand into other areas when it comes to stoves. So I'll show you guys another one that I got here in just a moment. But these are really cool holders, and I don't know about anybody else, okay, but do your trivets really stay in here really good? Because mine do, but they're not like super solid, and I think that was the purpose of it, because the stove is going to expand, it is going to contract, and I mean, these trivets fit really well. My first set, they weren't perfect, but there's room there, if you can see that, for 4 trivets if you like. I only have 3 because my big one doesn't fit. I don't know if it'll fit in here. I guess I've never tried it. No, it won't go into the lip. But I've got 3 that'll fit in there. Nice. Nice. So, a couple things about these larger wood stoves and why I like the larger wood stoves. This season right here is bitter, bitter cold, okay? Right now outside we've had freezing rain. It warmed up freakishly weird, and then it froze again. But in the wintertime, I predominantly use the larger stoves, and the reason why I use the larger stoves because they put off more heat. Okay, I can build a really nice fire inside of here, and they put off a lot of heat. I can feed it from here, I can feed it from here. I do enjoy feeding this stove. I'm sure I'm not the only one that I have always thought that this was such an enjoyable stove to feed when it's burning. I always have. One thing to remember, I usually use a trivet because I have a strange number of trivets. When this thing is burning, this ash pan is going to fill up. You just reach in there and just scoop out the ashes on the ground. It's not a big deal, you're outside anyway. And it's always fed the fire with air so well. I've never had an option with it ever starving the fire. So, anyway, with all these options that the stove has, which, you know, there's not a lot, but I think that if you really put your mind to it, you can really put a lot to this stove. It's a very, very simple design. It's very basic, but it works. Okay? But it works. So, let me close this stove up. I'm trying not to get ashes all over me because I have used the stove pretty recent. Here's the thing. With this stove, if you're out in the woods or whatever else, most of the time you're going to flip it upside down. Okay? And there goes my trivet. Flip it upside down, and you just close it like that. You're going to flip it upside down to get your ashes out or whatever else you've got going on. So, I wish I had my Trangia burner in here, but I obviously must have been doing God knows what and took it with me. So, love it. I've always liked it. It's it was one of my very first stoves, and it was really nice to get it as a gift from my wife, and that to me, that just means that much more. Okay, I'm sentimental like that. So, looking at that stove, enjoying that stove, and hearing people constantly say, well, that's a great stove, but it's too big. You can't really put it in a pack. Well, that's where I keep my stove. I don't know where you guys keep your stoves at, but I do keep my stove. If it's a large stove, 800 grams, I mean, that's going to kill my back, right? I do keep it in my pack. But, I went out and I got I kept the sticker on it, the titanium version. It's almost half the weight. It's 480 grams. It's the exact same stove. I probably should just pull this stove out to begin with because, oh, and it's together, because it's lighter and it's clean. Right off the bat, when you open the stove up from the package, from the case, you're going to notice one thing right away. It is super lightweight. So, gram weenies, they're probably still not going to want 480 grams, but that's really light. The trivets are titanium. They're super heavy duty. Now, here's the thing. I have not used this stove yet. I have not got the opportunity to. So, I can only assume that it's going to burn as well as the other Bushbox XL. It's made identical. It seems like it was patterned off of the same equipment, and just different material. Now, I'll tell you guys something. One thing that I was concerned about, or one thing I was worried about when I got the stove, were the hinges on the side, because they're thin. You know, it's thin wire, and the way that the stove is made, where it's twisted, I honestly thought that it was going to give due to heat stress eventually and break. I was wrong. So, I would show you guys this stove in comparison with the regular Bushbox, but I'm not going to dig that out. That's in a pack right now, and I'll show that to you guys when I show off the Bushbox. I'll use it as a comparison against this stove here. So really cool. I did get some with this stove. I got a bunch of stickers, and I'll stick them to stuff because that's what I do. But oh, and one more thing that is different on the original Bushbox case here. Here's the case. the titanium has got these nice little pieces of webbing on the back. Now, I don't know if the new Bushbox XL cases come like that, but the older ones don't. I probably wouldn't keep this on my hip anyway, but even this light one's, it's going to get stowed in my pack up against my back inside, because that's how I store them. So I'm excited to get out and to use this. It is not cheap. I will tell you guys that now. If you are going to purchase the stove, it is titanium. If you're going to purchase a titanium stove, that is. It is not cheap. Let's just use this as a rule of thumb. If you're ever going to buy anything that's titanium, it's not going to be cheap. If you're looking for a budget stove, or if you're looking for a stove that's more affordable, that's when you go with a stainless steel stove. Honestly, I don't think performance-wise there's any difference between a stainless steel stove and a titanium stove when it comes to a hobo version. That's a whole nother ballgame when you're looking at alcohol stoves. But when you're looking at like this type of stove, I've never seen a difference. I might put the stainless steel Bushcraft Essentials Bushbox XL. I might take the stainless steel version and the titanium version with the same amount of wood and do a cross comparison with the same pot, because I have some pots I have numerous pots of, and see if the boil times are the same, to see if, even though, you know, the absorption rate of the materials are different. So who knows? They might burn differently. But I think it's always a safe thing to say that if you want to be a little more budget friendly, go with the stainless steel. Some people prefer stainless steel because they like the durability of stainless steel more so. I've yet to notice that titanium wasn't durable. So that being said, the last thing I'm going to talk about tonight is a companion, a stove companion. I was going to talk about the Trangia burner in the Bushbox XL, but I'll talk about this little gem right next to me that I put a smudge on because my hands are dirty. This is the Wildo Box. Now, it is pronounced Wildo. I actually got a hold of this company and asked them because I was calling it Wildo and Wild O and all this different stuff, but from the rep's mouth, it is pronounced Wildo. So this is the Wildo Box. I really like this color. Unfortunately, it gets dirty really, really easy. I did change it up. Okay, one, I've made this kit according to how, I use it with my kids, and I use it in conjunction with my pack with my mother canteen carrier case from Centerline Systems. I had the hiccups. And I keep my salt and pepper shakers in there and stuff like that. So this is how I carry this kit, because this is for me and for my little ones, this is something that we use as almost like an expansion companion. Okay, if we need to expand what we're using, because we all carry canteens with us, but if we need something to eat off of, you know, whatever, there's numerous options. So let me show you real quick. It's got a little nub in there that keeps it locked. See those little nubs on the inside? Maybe you can't. There you go, you can see them. Those lock the lid down on here nice and solid. So the first thing is, well, this is a bowl or a plate, however you prefer to use it. And it's nice and deep too. Second, a cutting board and a strainer. I didn't think I would use a cutting board as much as I do, but once you have a good cutting board surface, I use the crap out of this thing. So, a cutting board. And this is where the kit changes, because I did like it at first, the Wildo spoon, or their sport that they have, but you know, it just, I'm right-handed, and for me it wasn't situated right. I think for a left-handed person it would be better. And I did really enjoy it at first, but it just kind of grew on me that I didn't enjoy their sport that it came with. So I put just a light my fire plastic spork in there. And these are good. You guys have probably used these or a mock-up of these before. I will say that once you use something like my favorite one here, the heavy cover titanium amazing spork tool here. Look at that. Look at the size difference. You don't need one of those super long Mountain House Sea to Summit spork spoons to scoop to the bottom. All you need is one of these bad boys. And the price, you know, a titanium spork is, I don't know, $12, $13, $18, depending on where you buy it from Light My Fire. It's just 20 bucks. So it's a big size difference there. So I carry this with me. This is the spare because, you know, I normally eat with this one here. I'll put that back so I don't lose it. Okay, so the spork, and everything's cut out the way that it fits in there. And the way that I have the spork is I keep it spoon side down, and it fits right into the cups. Okay. A little knife. This really helps me. This is an Opinel in Bubinga wood. This really helps me prepare whatever food I'm cutting, and I just love this little thing. And then there are two folded cups. There's a small, and they're actually, they lock in really cool to each other, like that. Little guy. And then this is the regular folded cup right here. This is the regular size. A lot of people carry these around with them. They're really nice. Another thing that kind of exceeded my expectations were these guys. Really cool finger swells on them too. Hold them like that. Really get a good grip and keep your hands warm. Same thing with this. Or you can hold it however you want to hold it. And then last but not least, which comes with it, is the base. But it's another bowl. You can hold it like this. Now the only thing I noticed was, from this being in my pack and having things press up against it, it put stress marks on the inside of the bowl. So, but you know what? It doesn't hurt the way the thing functions or operates. So hey, here's the deal. With this Wildo kit, I actually got berated from somebody telling me that it was plastic and whatever. Use the stuff that you like. I'll use the stuff that I like. This is just an option. This is something you have to go out and buy. But let me show you something. This little joint right here, okay, you can actually see when I hold it up, you can actually kind of see through it. It's thinner than the rest of the cup. I figured, me being me, that's going to wear out really quick. That's, you know, that's a pivot point. That's going to wear out right there, and I'm going to be out a couple bucks because they're not expensive at all. But you know what? 2 years. 2 years going strong. So that's pretty awesome. And you know what? I just like the way that this thing fits together. It's a really nice little expansion kit, and it snaps together. And it's lightweight, and it goes into the pack. If we use it, we use it, and if we don't, we don't. It's easy cleanup. So, alright guys, well hey, everyone, thanks for coming along with me from Stoveaholics, and thanks for coming along with me on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this little stove talk about the Bushcraft Essentials Bushbox XL. You see, that's my problem. Every time I look down, I see my box, and I have to say the entire name. Call it the BBXL or whatever, but yeah, I'm strange like that, I guess. So I've really been enjoying this. Oh, I said 480 grams. They're saying that it weighs in at 490 grams. So that's my fault. They're saying made in Germany, packed super small, no need to carry fuel, perfect for EDC, multi-fuel. It focuses heat, which we all know that, hence the warping extended grill plate. Windshield, I showed you guys that option where I actually used my larger Stanley pot there, and it's super lightweight at 490 grams. Cooks wood with spirits, fuel, tablets, gel, fuel, etc. Oh, that's another thing. That plate, that short, small grill plate, I've used Esbit on it, and I've used Esbit on it quite a bit, actually. I just did not mention that. It works really well. So, alright guys, well hey, thanks for coming along with me today, and taking a look at that. Next week, we're going to be talking about another titanium stove. The Firebox Nano. I want to go big, small, big, small, big, small. So, alright, we'll see you guys later. Bye. It's not going anywhere.